normal people that you know won't be there. I hate normal people more than anybody else. I hate you, normal people, more than anybody else. I hate you, normal people, more than anybody else. Anybody else.
Welcome to Joan of Art, the weekly podcast where we investigate and celebrate people who make art.
Dear madam, dear sir, dear madam, dear sir, dear madam, dear sir, dear madam, dear sir, dear madam, dear sir,
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's episode 7 of Joan of Art. I am so excited. I have 3 awesome guests here with me today. I just wanted to say, my intro song is by Francis Gum, which is a local punk group that's been around forever and ever, and I don't think that I've ever properly credited them. So, hey Francis Gum, thanks for I Hate Normal People is the name of the song, and maybe one time I'll tell you what album it's off of, but I don't know at this moment. Anyway, I want to introduce our guests. I have here Noah Harmon, who is an illustrator and a painter. He is St. Paul based, sometimes Minneapolis based, definitely Twin Cities based, but his work has really been making the rounds in some different kind of really interesting ways on Instagram. He's done a lot of things, and we're going to talk to him, so I'm really excited. I also have DJ Tease here, and I know you as Tease, but is that what you go by?
Yes.
Okay, that was easy. All right, great. So we've got Tease here, and he is a metal DJ, and he's also now an advocate and an activist for immigration reform, and so he's going to tell us a little bit about this story and this journey that he's been living these past few months. And I also have Bailey Calander here with me. Hi, Bailey.
Hey, Joan.
Ooh, Bailey is my co-worker at Hennepin Theater Trust. She and I both do the Made Here project, but she's also a mosaic artist and a musician, and really quite a delightful person.
I love you, Joan.
I love you too. So, and I have to say, I'm just going to disclose too that Noah Harmon is a really good friend of mine as well. I'm really lucky to have so many great artist friends in the community that I just feel like every show we've been able to have 3 kick-ass people on the show, and I haven't run out of any ideas yet. So thanks guys for being awesome. All right, Noah, I'm going to pick on you first. How's it going? How are you today?
I'm pretty good. I'm not used to talking. I mostly just draw. So this is going to be interesting.
I know that, and that's why I asked you on, because I thought that I'm pushing you a little bit. I realized that. But so, how long? So your story about how you came to Minneapolis, can we just start out there? You went to college where?
I went to St. Cloud State.
And where are you from?
I'm from South Dakota originally.
Okay. And what city in South Dakota?
Little town. It's called Beersford, South Dakota.
That's awesome.
Named for Lord Beresford.
Really?
Who started the railroad there.
Wow. And your grandma still lives there, am I right?
My grandma lives in Sioux Falls, the big city.
Okay.
In Sioux Falls. So.
I see. So that's like going to the city when you go to Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went to school in St. Cloud, and you had an instructor there. That is how did you go from St. Cloud to Minneapolis? Is that something you can sum up?
I was lucky enough to intern with Susie Greenberg when I was in college, and then moved here because she was there, and my best friend from South Dakota moved here. So it was really funny because when I first moved here, my best friend from high school was just like, "Oh yeah, they have cool bands and stuff," and I was like, "Okay, cool, that nice. Sounds great. I'll move there."
Well, Susie, for our listeners who don't know who Susie was, sadly she passed away several years ago, or not even it was actually quite recent. It was just a couple years ago. But she was the founder of the SUVAC Gallery, which is a gallery in Minneapolis that supports tons of local artists. Mm-hmm. I think they've shown more than 1,500 artists in the last 10 years. So SUVAC, look it up. Anyway, okay, so here you are in Minneapolis. And is that when you got your gig at the MIA? Because you worked there too.
Yeah, I'm a part-time guard there. Yep, that was the first thing I did was get a job because I was part raised by my grandfather. So the first thing you do is get a job. Don't think about it. Just go get a job.
That's right. I'm a survivor too. I was a nurse for a long time, but when I moved to New York, I didn't have my license, and I just immediately got a job at a thrift store because I'm you just have to make money.
Just work, yeah.
I know. That's great. But so you've been drawing and painting for a really long time. Have you been drawing and painting your whole life?
Yep, since I was a really little kid. I was thinking about it this morning because I knew I'd have to actually talk about it. And like my first exposure to drawing, I would make my grandparents, this was pre 9/11, drive to the airport. And I would draw people getting off planes. It started on accident. Like it was like my favorite thing to draw, though. And
Wow.
I still wish you could go and like be at the terminal when people arrive, because like even if they're not there to see you, it's like there's this crazy expression when people get off planes that's just really cool.
Wow, maybe there's a way that we could actually, maybe from an artist place, like maybe we could get you a residency.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Yeah, TSA probably get involved.
I
so.
don't know. It's funny because then I think about it and I'm like, I think I maybe could help that happen. You never know. Anyway,
All right.
okay, well, moving on. So you were drawing people getting off planes.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing. I always drew like people, like little portraits, and then they got kind of stylized and condensed to like what I do now. But
Yeah. So you got a fine art degree, right?
yeah,
What made you decide to go to college for fine art? I don't know. I remember you telling me a little bit about that, and it was kind of interesting.
well, I went to school for art because I couldn't think of anything else to do, like at all. Like, and I think that's a lot of people's maybe way towards it, but like I still can't think of anything I'd like to do every day
Other than draw
other
and be
than
an
draw
artist.
and
Yeah.
and do art, like because you get to do really anything you want, and it's amazing.
It's free, but it's also just like a part of who you are. It's like a way you spend your day and your time, and it's like what you think about
Yeah,
a lot.
exactly. Like I've already drawn for 2 hours today. Like,
Wow.
like
Do you go to like a meditative place when you're drawing? Do you feel like you kind of like?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's kind of like I have like little rituals and like little processes, and I do like the same things kind of every day.
But that's, I think, a really good disciplined practice. I think that's how you get better and you develop, like you kind of have to stick to it, but it sounds like in a way for you, you sort of have to do it. Like
Yeah.
you have to do it to
Yep.
for your own well-being or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
That makes sense. So you have this really cool thing that sort of happened. I don't know if it's in the last year or what, but like your Instagram presence, tell people where they can find you on Instagram.
Relax Adult or at Relax Adult.
Yep. Okay. So you started kind of working that really in a really successful way. People started noticing. You sent some designs to a company in Canada.
Yeah, I saw this company which I called Stay Home Club, and I thought they were really cool. And I just cold emailed. I have a habit of doing that, just kind of like cold emailing things that I think are cool.
I do
Like,
that too.
Yeah. And so I was just like, hey, your stuff's really cool. I think this would fit. Maybe. Like,
So it was like an extremely confident email.
oh, yeah. No. There were like a few exclamation points after maybe, and then 5 question marks. So, and then they got back to me like that day. Like,
Wow.
And we're like, sure, let's put out a collection. And I was just like, I wanted to be like, you do realize like I'm not an actual professional illustrator. This would be like the first thing I've ever done. So
Right. But you rolled with it, and
yeah,
actually it
I
did
actually
really
didn't-
well.
I didn't tell them that.
No.
And so then we ended up putting that out, and that kind of got a different audience, but it's grown just oddly because it's a pretty small community, really, when you look at it. I mean, there's like 1 billion people on it, but
It's just tiny.
yeah, just 1 billion out of like 6. So I don't know. I really enjoy like that part of it. But like, yeah, you meet people through there. I've met a lot of really cool and interesting people through that.
So when you got this gig with this design companies, how did that all play out? Like they just picked like several of your illustrations that you had sent, or examples that you had sent, and then they made like T-shirts and tote bags and all that kind of stuff.
Well, they just went through my Instagram. Like,
Wow.
I mean, people spend a lot of time like making websites and stuff, but like I think like almost it's more worth your time, and it's free to make a really
Powerfully, like
Yeah,
get a
just-
lot of followers and have like a really vibrant.
not necessarily even followers, just like represent yourself like the best possible way you can, like,
That's interesting.
and throw it out there, and then like you have no control over who sees it and how they react. So that part is really cool, and that's what I really love about it.
But to your point, which I think is something that artists should really think about and consider, like, you do build a website. I mean, I have like it's not crappy, but it's just like really basic WordPress website for myself. But I mean, I think artists are always trying to find ways to get their work in front of people. And if you think about doing that on a social media platform, what better? I mean, I think there's more people trolling Instagram than would ever look at my website.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because you can be anonymous on there too. Like, you don't have to, like, you'll have people that will like contact you that don't even follow you, that kind of just like passively look at that stuff.
There's a lot of people on social media who just are observers and they never like interact or touch anything.
Yep.
I try to remember that when I do those 3 a.m. posts that are like big long diary entries. I'm like, oh, like not just the people that I normally talk to are going to look at this.
Isn't that kind of why you do it though?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I call myself Queen Deletefa because I'm like I like to say these really powerful things, and then later I'm like, oh, whoever read it. It's over. It was a moment in time. But anyway, I'm really impressed by how well you've capitalized on Instagram. And the other thing that's been happening is that people have been getting tattoos of your drawings on their bodies all over the world.
I know. Like, yeah, that's.
Did you expect that to happen? Was that something you...
No, not at all. Like, I had a really good friend that collects tattoos, and he wanted to get one, and he ended up getting one for I think like his like 48th birthday or something, like in China.
Yeah.
And so he did that one, and I put that one on the internet, and then people were like, "Oh wow, people are getting tattoos of this," and I don't know. It just kind of grew from there.
So, do you know about how many people have gotten the tattoos? Is it like a handful?
I've done 25, and then I would say like, well, I don't do the tattoos. That's something that people always ask, like, oh, cool. How much is it to get tattooed by you? It's like
I don't do them.
I don't do the tattoos, but yeah, like I'll design them. And there's 25 I've designed, and then I get a lot of, well, not a lot, but I'd say maybe I've gotten a dozen or maybe a little bit more of just like random people that will just send me pictures of their kind of poorly done knockoff tattoos.
How does that feel? So now there's Noah Harmon knockoff tattoos? We've gotten to that point.
No, I feel like it went too fast. Like, it was like way too fast. Like, I'm going to like be like totally burnt out, like in like... Probably right now, like currently.
So, but what's the process then? So let's say I wanted to get a Noah Harmon tattoo. Like, do I contact you on Instagram and say, hey, I want a tat? Or
hopefully, like,
because you charge a commission, right? You're not. I mean, you're getting,
it's I charge, like, my little contract is it costs $20 to get a design. You have to go to an actual tattoo shop. You can't just have your friend do it, even if he's really good. And like,
have you gotten letters? I can hear the emails. He's really good.
He's like really good, and he's in this trailer, and he's like,
no,
it's gonna look really good. It's not. It's not gonna look good, and you're not gonna like it. And,
right.
So I try to do that, and then all I do is I send them like a high-res scan that I feel would fit on somebody's whole back. It hasn't happened yet.
Is that what you're shooting for?
Yeah. Full
so
back.
far it's just been like shoulders and ankles and things.
Whole forearms, that's happened. And that was crazy, because it was like a very like just normal looking like teenager, and then like just their whole arm
is Harmon.
Just a drawing. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Do you have any insight about, I mean, I know this might be hard to talk about. I think that your drawings have a really dark, wonderful sense of humor.
Sure.
And that's part of why I love being on your Facebook. I love being on your Instagram and seeing all the new drawings, because they're just delightful in that way, where they're funny, but they're also like kind of like sad sometimes, or like about confusion or about anxiety or about like.
Well, they started out as like really personal, but then when you put them on the internet, they become a lot less personal, and you realize that like there's like common themes and stuff like that. So I mean, I explore like it all comes from like a personal place, but I guess like my goal is to try to make it as open that like anybody could identify, because I've had people that have emailed me about specific drawings that I had I had no intention of it being that.
Wow.
Like, there was a lot of people that were suffering, that do suffer from depression, that really identified with this drawing of just like a kneeling person without a head, and they.
What was the caption? Because you put captions in your work, and I think that always. I mean, you don't always, but a lot of times you put these captions in that are really, they're pretty stunning and intense in some ways. You know.
I think that one was just like. It was something about like loneliness. Like a lot of them have to do with like loneliness, because I assume that when people are on the internet, they're feeling kind of lonely, and like no matter if they're with somebody or not, like it's
true. I mean, I think that's partially true.
So that is kind of like a comment on that. So, but yeah, no, I've gotten some really great feedback. Like this like young kid just emailed me last week about how he had gone through depression and had like looked at these drawings and then ended up wanting to get one tattooed after he had seen a counselor and stuff like that. And like he looked at it as like this kind of therapy. And
wow.
And that was, pretty much mind blowing. I almost like quit drawing that day. Like I was just like,
really? You took it
cool.
negatively?
No,
like it was like you don't need to do anymore.
I don't know what I could do more than like have like a more personal connection. Like when you go to like a museum and you're like looking at a Monet, you're like, oh, that's cool. Like
yeah.
Monet was like,
it's pretty great.
Monet was like awake different times of the day and painted like all these different ways. But then it's just like, oh yeah, did like some 15-year-old like almost kill himself and then tattoo a Monet on him and then email Monet like.
Right.
Not that
you
I'm like comparing,
that
I'm like comparing myself to anything like that, but it's just like, it's like this new kind of connection that you can have with people that's amazing.
I think it's a way that your work is kind of being received and interpreted, and I do think that your work actually provides some hope in this way that like there are these themes of isolation and loneliness in your work, but like there's something about looking at it, seeing it in a creative way with the captions too that are there. And it does make you kind of laugh about it a little bit and feel a little bit like I'm not the only person who,
right.
There's a connective factor there that I think is why it's, it's humanity. It's honest.
Right. When I purposely make the drawings look pretty simple too, so that they can be relatable. You wouldn't even need the words if you wanted to.
That's true.
That's the point of illustration, hopefully. And
yeah. So do you have anything going on right now that's coming up or anything you want to talk about, or you just got your nose to the grindstone drawing every day?
I'm making some drawings and some paintings. I'm going to be probably putting out a line of my own T-shirts, just not very many of them, but like this
limited
fall.
edition.
Yeah.
Those will sell instantly and you know it. It'll be great.
Hopefully, but yeah, I'm gonna be doing that in the fall. So
cool,
I'm getting ready
that's
for
great.
That.
So people can find your stuff on Instagram at RelaxAdult.
Yes.
You also have a website.
RelaxAdult.com.
There you go.
Or you can contact me at Noah Harmon at RelaxAdult.com.
There you go. Okay, I encourage everybody to take a look at Noah's Instagram and his website. He's an awesome artist. Thanks, Noah, for talking with us today. I want you to stay around as I turn my gaze to Bailey.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm going to pick on you. Thanks, Noah. That was awesome. So, Bailey, thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you for getting me out of the office to come and be on your show.
That's great. So we're going to start out. We're going to talk a little bit about the project we work on, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about what you do as an artist. So one of the things I want to say is that when you came to Hennepin Theater Trust, you definitely scored like 10 million bajillion zillion points over the other candidates because you are a working artist. And for me, I was like, how are we supposed to do a project that's a collaboration between sometimes 60 or so visual artists without having artists at the helm, right? So anyway, that I was really happy about that. And so far, I think it's been like super fun. You've done a great job with the website and the social media, and you also you've been doing graphic design, which is outside of your wheelhouse, and you've been kind of getting through that, but also these videos. So you're a videographer too?
Yeah, in college I took an intro to documentary filmmaking class and made a documentary called Saving Creativity and was nominated for a Midwest Emmy.
What?
It didn't win, but
still you got a nomination with your college project?
Yeah, just me and my friend, and we were up against like some pretty big productions. Like it was just me and him going, filming, interviewing. editing, and then we were up against like teams of 100. So we felt a little bit ridiculous, but it was
It was just you and one guy, and you were
Yeah.
up against teams that were like as big as 100 people that were working together on a documentary.
Yeah, and we got to go to the Current, and we went to First Ave and talked to some guys from Pertinier and Trampled by Turtles, and just Bill DeVille, Barb Abney, and some cool people.
Interesting. So you were out filming artists anyway.
Yeah.
And you almost won an Emmy for it. So then you come to Made Here and you start making these videos. So you've been doing artist videos. You've done how many? Like 15 of them? Or
I think I'm on number 22.
Whoa!
Yeah.
In a year.
Yeah, in less than a year. I think it'll be a month, and then I'd see.
That's amazing. I just want to thank you for that, because I think that one of the things that artists can always use is like more shareable content and being able to talk about what you're doing in your studio. I know that you get out of the office and you go to artist studios and you interview them, which I think is the best environment to really get a good artist interview. So anyway, I think it's awesome. Where can we see those videos?
You can go to the Made Here Vimeo page. So vimeo.com, search Made Here MN. Our username is like a bunch of numbers. Not sure how to change that. I should have it memorized, though.
That's okay. Well, yeah, you can search on that, or you can go to the Made Here website, too.
Made
But
Here
anyway,
website,
okay,
yeah.
enough about that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We're putting the brakes on the Made Here stuff. So, but I want to talk to you about, you are an amazingly talented mosaic artist.
Oh, thank you.
So when did you start getting into that? When did that happen?
Started doing mosaic art, I think it was my junior year in high school. My mom kind of took it upon herself to give me a bunch of crafty mosaic books, like the kind that you see where you break plates. And we were at my cabin up north, no TV, no nothing up there, which is great. So
Yeah.
we take advantage of that and do a lot of crafts. But we sat down and just kind of like started doing everything. And now that I look back, we did everything wrong. Like,
What do you mean?
Like technique wise, like we were like gluing with not glue.
What were you using?
It was not something that I should be using for adhesive. I think it was probably toxic.
Whatever it was wrong.
Yeah, and then I ended up grouting it and like leaving. When you grout something, you're supposed to wipe it off of the tiles like within like a couple minutes, because
Yeah.
it'll set and then it'll be like cement over your beautiful creation. But I did that and I left it there overnight and woke up the next morning and was pretty upset. I had to like chisel it all off. But yeah,
That's how you learn.
yeah, but I really enjoyed it. Kind of took to it. My mom like left and didn't want to work on that very much throughout our trip, but I took advantage of it, and I kind of had a mentorship. Does that make sense? Internship of sorts with local mosaic artist Shara Frank, who works at the Northrop King building, and she used to work with Compass Artswork. And
Was that while you were in college, or was that?
That was like senior year of high school, summer into college. Mm-hmm. So I worked 4 years there.
Did you find that internship on your own?
I did. I was kind of like Noah. I was sending out these emails to just random people. I think I was working at a gift shop in Wayzata for a little while. And it was like Sundays and no one would come in. So I would just look up artists in Minnesota and I would reach out to them and be like, I really like your stuff.
Can you teach me, please?
Write back to me if you want.
I can help
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
somehow.
Maybe.
That's great. But it's weird because think about that. So I'll tell you about a random email. I randomly emailed the Gorilla Girls in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, and I know that that's like, that really doesn't maybe happen every time, but I'm just like, when people say like, oh, I just randomly emailed, I'm like, I really think that our world is so much more connected, and disconnected in ways. We could talk about that for a million years. But you can like reach out to people that you admire and say, I really like your stuff. Is there a way that we could collaborate or whatever? And I remember when I sent my 1 a.m. email saying, please help us beat this anti-marriage amendment. We don't, it's really awful here in Minnesota. The next day I was like, you're so dumb. Like, they're never going to talk to you. They were like lecturing in Krakow or something. I know. So a week later, it's like, hello, Joan. This is Frida Kahlo from the Gorilla Girls. I like fell off my chair. But anyway, so how did Sarah get back to you? Did you say this person's name was Sarah?
Oh, Shara.
Shara.
I was like,
Okay, sorry about that.
Who did I say? So Shara emailed me back and sent me a link to this program through Compass where they employ young adults to work with professional artists in the area, and you get paid. It's like an hourly thing, and you get paid to learn and make art.
Yeah, Compass is an awesome project. I encourage people to look it up online. So
Yeah.
that's cool. So how long did you work with Shara?
Well, I help her every now and then whenever she needs like assistance, if I'm available to like teach classes. So I think it's kind of like an ongoing student
Teacher
kind of
relationship.
thing. Yeah.
That's nice. Did you work with her on a wall at all, or have you ever done anything like bigger than more kind of like interior intended pieces?
We've really only done. I did help her with the St. Paul Children's Hospital piece that she did, and that was pretty darn large. But it wasn't outside. My dream is to have a wall.
Okay,
outside
I know.
wall.
My dream is for you to have a wall too.
I would make your face on that wall.
No, wait, my dream just changed into a nightmare. Well, that's something I have to say, though, about your specific mosaic skills. I'm a big fan of mosaic art. I think it's lovely, and I worked with Angela Carlson-Tolley before, who is an incredible mosaic artist who really has kind of a folk type basis to her work. But Bailey, you're able to do detailed portraits with mosaics, which I think is incredible. And you also have a series of different pieces that are from different places throughout the Twin Cities. Will you tell us a little bit about like the stuff that you have available for sale right now?
Oh, yes, definitely. So I think I did 5 pieces. They're landmarks around the Twin Cities. I have like the cherry spoon at the Walker. I have Mickey's dining car, which is my favorite
It's
piece.
so beautiful. You guys have to check it out, and I'll tell you how in just a minute. Keep going.
I have like a Minneapolis skyline. I have the Pillsbury silo, and I think, and then that's it.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, for now.
But
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of really cool things to see that I think I remember when I first saw all that work, and I thought, wow, there's something about this to me that's a little bit different. I just think you're able to capture some really interesting detail that you just don't always see in mosaic work.
Thank you. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and you're able to work on a small scale too.
Yeah.
I remember when we first started working together, you made me a Dios de los Muertos skull.
Just a little skull.
So
for
nice.
birthday.
I loved it. I was like, oh my God.
I want to make you another one, a better one.
Shush. Anyway, I thought it was really beautiful, but I was thinking, and then you make pet portraits too.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of pets recently.
How did that all start?
So our coworker, Erin, at work, she moved here from Florida, and it was her birthday around the time that she moved here, and I was just like, you know what a bummer to move away from like the warmest place
To Minnesota in the winter.
in the winter,
Right.
and to have never experienced that before, and to not really have like a home base of friends and family up here. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be her friend,
Aw.
and I'm gonna make her a pet mosaic because she has this French bulldog named Hank. And Hank is unlike any other dog. He's just a little human monkey dog.
A human monkey dog? And
She
you made
calls
it
him Monkey. So,
Aw.
so I
Wait,
made
what
it
kind
that.
of dog do you have, Noah?
Boston Terrier.
Okay, I'm sorry, but they're both little and cute. I'm terrible. I don't know much about breeds, but yeah. What's your dog's name?
They're close looking. It's Fran.
Yeah. Fran. Okay, sorry. Back to you, Bailey. But so you made a portrait of Hank for her birthday,
Yeah.
and she died. Like she couldn't believe it.
Oh, I was like, no.
No, I mean Erin. Like she freaked.
didn't.
Like I
No.
should choose my words more carefully. She freaked out. She loved it.
Yeah,
Her
and-
reaction was great, and you were like, huh.
Yeah, I was like, well, I guess this could be like a little side thing to kind of push out to friends and family. And I made one. So I sent that to like my Facebook and all that stuff. And my boyfriend's grandma sent it to like a French bulldog Facebook, which I guess they're pretty fanatical about their dogs. And so I got a few inquiries from like England and
Whoa.
yeah, which was pretty cool. It was fun to be able to work with shipping that piece.
Right?
Yeah.
Did you plan on that with the cost
Oh.
of the piece? No, was that a learning curve there?
That was a learning curve, and I was really grateful.
I've been there, totally.
I was grateful she didn't get angry at me when I was like, "Oh, $60 to ship something? That's
Yeah.
very small." Ruh-roh.
She was like, any amount of money for my precious dog.
Yes, that's exactly. I was like, every time I would read her emails, she's like, "Hello, Bailey.
You can hear her voice.
I'm excited to have my dog Violet." Yeah,
That's great, though. But look at that. Like, you just crossed the pond with your work. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think that market is kind of really fun. And, I think Jen Davis does that, I think, too, a little bit on her Etsy site. You have an Etsy site, am I right? Or where do
I
you
do.
Where do you push stuff out?
I think I mostly send people to my website because it's easier to remember the name. I think I made my Etsy site like in college when I didn't have a brand that I was trying to make for myself. So
What is it now?
BaileyRayMosaics.com.
And Bailey Ray is spelled BaileyRae.
Correct.
Mosaics.com.
Yep.
Awesome. So on there, we'll link to where you can purchase things, and you've got those landmark Twin Cities pieces on that site too.
Yeah, and examples of past stuff as well.
That's great. Right?
All of it.
Okay. It's all there, but that's okay. So then are you kind of open to the idea of doing like commissions for people? Like
yes.
what if they wanted their baby's face? Would you do that, or would you be like, would that not, maybe not?
Well, I've actually done a baby's face already.
You did?
Did you know that?
I don't know. I didn't know that. I swear to
Robbie's
God.
baby.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. See? I'm psychic. I'm
Yes.
witchy. Okay, cool. Right? Tease is like, yes, you are.
Yes. I agree. I believe in witches. Good and bad.
Hey, that's a really good preview for what's coming up next, you guys. Well, Bailey, I want to thank you so much for taking time to come and talk. It's exciting that you were here and we're outside of work and we can actually like talk about what you do.
Aw.
Is there anything else you want to add? I know you've got work at the Landmark Center right now.
Yeah, I have like a little guitar thing up near the Schubert Museum.
Cool. And
Which, yeah.
Go ahead.
It's a really cool building if you haven't been in the Landmark Center. It's not just like an old landmark in the
Center.
middle center. There's actually like there's a really cool woodworking museum. There's
Yeah, the
instruments.
Schubert Museum is amazing. If you haven't visited, it's incredible.
I played a piano there that was played by like Liszt, and like
Yep.
they let you play it.
Wow.
Yep.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me of that space. So who organized that group show? Was it Forecast Public
I
Art? or
believe it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, they keep coming up on every show.
They're
I like
great.
it, though. You got to love Forecast. All right, cool. Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners today at the Joan of Art podcast?
Oh, just that Joan's the best.
What?
Everyone that meets Joan is instantly her best friend.
Ah, that's really sweet of you to say. I don't know. You have to try me out. We'll see if it works out with everybody. All right. Well, thanks, Noah and Bailey. I want you guys to stick around. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Teese, and this is going to be a great conversation, so I encourage you to stick around.
Woo!
Woo!
The term foodie can sometimes come across as a tickle pretentious. BT and Lydia are here to demystify the term and reclaim it for the sake of good food. Their weekly podcast brings in fellow foodies and culture creators from the Twin Cities to talk about all things food. Find this duo only on the Alive and Social Network.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back online, along comes this hit show.
Do you want to do this? I will do this.
Jamie, let's not battle our guests.
You're being nice.
In a world full of hit shows, this one's the real deal.
I'm refusing to
I hear
engage
you.
in an argument that doesn't exist.
I'm not arguing.
Twin Cities Hit Show.
Oh my god!
Oh my God. Hey,
See, this is how fights start on pedal pubs. This is exactly.
Throw water balloons.
He's just all that
out.
redheaded
Talk it
anger
out.
just came up. It's all in his chest right now.
The Twin Cities Hit Show airs live daily, 9:30 to 10:30 on the Alive and Social Network.
Oh, Shannon, welcome to my world.
Hey, welcome back to Joan of Art, the podcast weekly where we investigate and celebrate people who make art. I'm super excited to have three awesome guests today. We just had a really fun conversation with Noah Harmon and Bailey Calander, and now we are focusing on Teese. Welcome to the Joan of Art podcast, Teese.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming here. So I got to say, I have only known you for a few short months. I am super happy to know you. I am really impressed with the grace in which you have operated being under siege by our government.
Good way to look at it, yeah. Pariah.
Right. And so I have to say that I think that the friendship that we have and some of the other friendships that you've made have come out of crisis. And so I don't know how much you want to talk about this, but I just want to kind of...
As much as you want to know.
Okay, so tell us, life was pretty normal for you last January, February?
Life has never been normal. I'm Teese. So.
Okay. Okay, right. All right, and we hate normal people according to my theme song.
Exactly.
So let's rephrase that.
I'm not one of them.
Okay, so you were rocking out and having good times with friends and DJing and
Being a normal dude, I guess.
Yeah,
And
okay.
then life was basically carefree and normal for the most part. I've always been pretty much me.
Yeah.
So March 2nd rolls around, and I had this feeling. It's funny, we're talking about psychic and witches and all this stuff, but I believe in magic. Magic is basically confidence and creativity and being able to create.
Right.
And I was like reading before about the word psych, and the ancient Greeks talk about the word psych, and they believe psych means soul. So you're able to really connect to things when you have a soul. So that's the word psychic. But I had this dream like a couple months before that I was like in this strange place with wearing strange clothes, and everyone kept on calling me Chino. And I was like, yeah, that's. And then I was talking to my Chilean friend, and I was like, yeah, maybe I'm going to go to Chile or something like that. But it was kind of a bad dream because I was in this strange place where I didn't want to be. I was like, that can't be it. So like March rolls around, and I had this ominous feeling. There's always like the Ides of March that was in my head. So March 2nd rolls around, I get this like really Gestapo knock on the door, and I was like, these aren't the UPS guys to deliver my records. I open the door, they're like, are you this a phone? They couldn't even say my name. I was like, yeah, that's me. So they have a picture of me. They instantly handcuffed me, and they were like, we're ICE. I'm like, oh, this isn't good.
It's just horrifying.
In the morning, yeah. And then you're
basically kidnapped out of your home.
I'm in my boxers. Like I'm just wearing my Black Sabbath Volume 4 shirt in my boxers, and they handcuff me, and they're like, where's your papers? I'm like, what papers? You know,
right.
They're like looking through my stuff, and they first asked, do you speak English? I was like, yeah, I speak English. You know, I felt, and then their eyes kind of opened, and they're like, who is this guy? And then they look around at my place, and they were like, kind of treated me like, I don't know, it was different because I could tell their job was very robotic into how they work. And I talked to them, and I was just a dude. I believe in the Big Lebowski because I was like, I'm just a dude, man. You woke me up.
Right.
And I broke down that barrier of that, like, kind of, like, we're tough. We're, and then it was, like, kind of a human interaction.
Which I'm sure was really uncomfortable for them.
Looking back, I was like, I'm breaking the ice with ice. And it was very awkward because I was like, and then when they were transferring me, I was like, they put on my pants or whatever, and they're like looking for stuff, and I'm a metalhead, so everything had like safety pins in all my jackets, so they couldn't give me a jacket. They just gave me like this, and it was cold, so they just gave me like one of my sweatshirts or whatever, and I was like, can I cover my face because we're going through the market? And I live in the Midtown Exchange building, and I happened to work downstairs at the time too, so it was like 8:30. And
yeah, you don't want everybody, all your coworkers and the entire public to see you being escorted
out by these like big giant like not even cops, federal. So then I'm in the car and talking to the lady, and I just remember looking at her in the eyes, and she had these deep kind of crow's feet, and she was like, how's your morning going? I was like, I'm being arrested. Yeah. So she was trying to break the ice with me. I was like, I don't even know what's going on. So they were like, oh, it'll be okay. And I was like, will I be able to go to work? Because I was like, I have to go to work at 2. So she was like, well, you'll be processed. And they were kind of like shutting it off, and she felt generally bad about what she was doing. I asked them, I was like, do you guys feel good about what you're doing? Because I don't even know what you're doing. So 6 hours rolls around. I'm in shackles, and there's a trickle of people. I was in Bloomington at the Sherburne County, no, not Sherburne County, at the federal building in Bloomington, the Fort Snelling office. And I'm like in this bunker kind of place, and I'm sitting there shackled, and they won't tell you what's going on until you're being properly processed or whatever. I didn't have any rights. So I'm waiting, and I'm seeing people roll in there. There was like a little kid wearing his like fast food uniform, shackled. I'm like trying to get this now because I remember on NPR, they were, I guess, immigration and Homeland Security were getting their funding cut. So what they did was they just started rounding up everyone for whatever minor offenses, because when people talk about immigration, they don't talk about the actual statistics of like when the government admits that the system's broken, they're not going to tell you how badly it's broken. That's just like kind of double speak for saying that, yeah, we're messing up a lot of like legalities here that isn't constitutional. We're not going to tell you
exactly how or why or how we're going to fix it. We're just going to make this blatant statement and carry on.
Yeah, they make a lot of money off of immigration because there's all these like factors about like how the infrastructure of power is being diverted through different channels of means. So when I was reading about it, I was like, because I know about immigration, because I was basically trying to get my citizenship about 2 years ago, and that's why they arrested me, because
You started the process, and
I
so then
started-
somehow you're on the radar then,
I was
right?
on the radar, and basically they waited 2 years because I have like this. When I was 18, I had a marijuana conviction that got expunged. It was a misdemeanor. So then I got that expunged, and then when I went to get my citizenship, I had to disclose all my criminal records or whatever. So that was on there, and then it took like 8 months. I paid like $800 plus just for the application. So then I got denied.
Which is like so accessible to like us immigrant person coming to like that is that's like step number one is horrible.
The processing and the paperwork is so like confusing as well, and like you go through all these hoops and you just get back to the first step still, and that's where I'm at.
Can I move back just a little bit? Where were you born and when did you come to Minnesota?
My story starts when basically in Southeast Asia. My mom is Laotian. My dad is Thai. So basically back in the 70s, there was a big unrest of, communism and all that stuff. And America was fighting all these secret, dirty wars by hiring different people to try to figure out where the communists were and try to outweed them out. So my dad was basically a monk at first. He met my mom, so he wasn't a monk anymore, and he needed to support the family.
Wow.
So he basically, did this government dirty work and then all of a sudden the U.S. government was gone, and his friends started disappearing that were, also doing this. So he was like, we got to go into hiding. So we got granted refugee status. So we went to Thailand, where I was basically born there. Mm-hmm. So I was there, and then we came to America legally, refugee status. Years go by. My dad basically, when I was 11, died of brain cancer. So there was no.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah, I was 10.
That's why we get along.
Well,
We're psychically
I don't
connected
know.
to some sort of universal trauma.
Horrible loss. Anyway, go on.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then I was growing up. I discovered, being American, because you want, being a foreigner, you don't want to stick out, because that's like your thing. It's like, people make fun of you. You have an accent. I talk, like everyone else. I really blended in. And I thought I was American, like I was here since I was like, 2 years old. So.
You totally went to school here and high school here. And your parents didn't really talk about this with you, right? I mean, it was sort of not discussed.
That's the thing that, immigrants don't talk about, like the consequences of being an immigrant, because you ignore the fact that you want to blend in.
Right.
Or else you hide in the shadows, or you don't blend in.
And you want to make a life. I imagine you want the same thing anybody else wants. Like you want your kids to have a good education. You want to be able to pay your bills and live in a comfortable place. Like it's just like the same as any other person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I went through that, and then after 9/11 rolls around, basically everything started changing. I had before I reverted back into my metalness, I had short hair. I worked in an office for for a banking institution, actually. And then after 3 years of that, there's this weird thing called the Dodd-Frank Act, where they looked into your background or whatever, and the FBI was like, well, this guy's not a citizen. Mm-hmm. And then they fired me, and then I was like, and then ever since then, I've had a super hard time finding a job, and that's why I applied for my citizenship. And I was like, what am I? I want to know. And then I went to the INS agents, and I was like, yeah, what am I? And they're like, that's for you to know. I'm like, don't you guys have a record of who's a citizen or not? Because that's all I'm asking for,
Wow.
And they're like, well, you have to apply for a citizenship test. I'm like, what if, how do you know who's a citizen or not? And they were like, we can't tell you if you're a citizen or not.
You just first have to pay the $800, sir, and then we can just let you know.
Just look it up. So I was like, I'll just bite the bullet on this one. I'll try to get legal or whatever. And then it was a really sad thing when you're actually in the immigration system, because I thought it was like, oh, I'm fine, I'm American, I can speak English, I don't have anything to worry about. But when I went to the final test, there was lawyers, like people crying, and like
because it was so difficult.
It was so difficult, and there's people that are actually incarcerated for stuff, and I was like, I'm fine. I still thought I was fine. So I go into the office of this lady, and it's literally like paperwork stacked up to the walls. It's a closet. And we're sitting close to each other because you can basically, it's a super tiny office. And I tried to shake her hand, and she threatened to shoot me.
What?
Yeah, so
it just gets weirder. It's like a fever dream.
It's a terrible, and I was like, oh, and then I got kind of scared because I was like, what? It's like a really serious thing now. It's like, oh, now it's not an interview, it's an interrogation. So she starts going from point to point. She's like, well, when you were in high school, you didn't apply for the armed services or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, because I'm a dirtbag. I'm like thinking this, and I don't believe in war.
I was gonna say, or perhaps you don't want to participate in war. Like that's a thing.
Do you have to do that still?
Do you?
If you're not a citizen, that's like considered a part of this treason thing, according to them. Because
Whoa.
So it looks bad. So she marked this thing down, and I was like, shit, ooh, and then she asked me about like my record, and she's like, back in 1998, do you remember like being convicted of a marijuana offense, which is, super bad if you're an immigrant as well. Normally, if you're a citizen, that's just like no big deal,
right?
Because it's a misdemeanor. But any sort of like violation of any, like, it's called moral turpitude, where like if you get charged with that, that means you're not a good person. So you have to prove yourself to be a good person, which is very difficult to do when you have that kind of on your record. So I waited 8 more months for that, and then there was no sign of anything. I talked to lawyers, and they were like, well, just don't do anything. Don't apply again because you're stupid for applying because you have a record. They're not going to give you what you want. So I basically like waited around, and then I kind of lived my life. And then March rolls around, and that's when
you got arrested. And then you spent time in solitary confinement even?
So, yeah, back to the incarceration was really difficult because I didn't know why I was there, and they wouldn't tell me. I had to, it cost $15 to make a phone call out. So the people that pick up the phone, and they, of course, you don't have your cell phone. So if you don't memorize a number, you can't call someone. You're kind of screwed. So I memorized, the only number that I memorized was my girlfriend's number at the time, because I kind of deleted it so many times because we were back and forth. I ended up memorizing it because we were that's exactly the truth. So I was funny. I remember my girlfriend's number. So I called her, and I was like, you got to go on Facebook and find out my friend Dan and get his number and call this stuff. And I was like, you got to call him. And then I was waiting in the cell with all these other guys, and I was like, I finally realized I was like, I'm kind of in this immigration situation now.
Right.
And getting out was going to be a lot more difficult than I thought it would be.
And there was a threat of deportation, right?
Yeah. So basically when you're in there, if you're, so they shipped me out to Sherburne County. I was in there for about 18 days. Out of the 12 of those days, I hunger striked because I believed that the only way I could have some sort of control over my situation was to not accept any of their so-called rewards. And food was one of them. So I was trying to take control of that. And they put me in the hole, which is in Sherburne County is, I don't know anyone's view of prison from movies or whatever actually being in these things. It was worse than anything I could imagine because you're in this little cell. There's no toilet. There's basically a sewer grate, and that's all you get. And you have to beg for water. And they were trying to break me to be like, oh, well, he's not eating, so we're going to psychologically put him in a worse place.
Oh my gosh.
And it was it was attached to the garage. So for 24 hours a day, they were idling their cars in there because it was kind of still winter. So I was basically dying in there because when I was I wiped my nose and it was solid black, like snot.
Whoa.
It was pretty deep. I mean, I was dying in there, but at the same time, I felt really strong that I was going to get out. And I was building my ability to expand my mind through creativity and not negativity.
Wow.
Because that's what saved me. And I'm glad that we're amongst artists that can wield the sword of creativity, because that's really what saves culture and the world and that's the way that things are fought, I think, positively. And we need to find more artists that are actually able to create activism, because nowadays we live in a society where just because you post something on Facebook or whatever,
you feel like you've made a difference.
You made a difference, and you feel good about yourself, but it's so worthless, really, because just because you like something doesn't mean you're actually going to do something.
Right.
And doing something and liking something or posting something it's completely different. I mean, we're spamming each other with information. Everybody has this kind of self-centered idealism of what they believe in, or showing off and stuff like that. But I think that the only way we can get people out of that is to talk about the real issues involved. And now I think that there is a lot of real issues in immigration because people don't talk about it. People talk about Donald Trump over how to help an immigrant that's going through like a situation that I'm going through. So, for instance, when you're in there, you have 3 months of detention. I got really lucky. Not really lucky. I got bizarro world strike. So I got this lawyer that didn't really know what he was doing. And he kind of was like, for my first hearing after the 18 days that I was in there or whatever, so they finally, I've had my first master calendar hearing. So when I was in the hole, they slipped me this piece of paper, and it said, your first, all in caps, master. So you have to go see your master.
Whoa!
And they don't call you by your name. They call you illegal, like alien case number, and that's you have to, they refer you to that. They don't even refer you to as like a defendant. Oh. So when you're in there, you have to talk to the master. And I'm like, this is like
so sick.
It is. And like, you know, when my friends went to visit me, they were like, what's the illegal alien's number? They were like, well, I know him by a name.
Right.
And they're like, well, and then they wouldn't look it up that way. They made even people that visited you. Well, I only got one visitor throughout the time, but when you're going through the process,
you have to know the number in order to access you.
They don't refer you to as a human being because I'm an illegal alien at this point. So I'm being extricated out of the country because I'm so foreign and disgusting to them.
Well, and you came here as a really young person, am I right?
Yes.
So you've lived your life here.
And legally, I came here as well. So people don't understand about, like, you know, when immigration's brought up, they think about Mexicans crossing, taking your jobs, and that's like a very
narrow.
It's so small of an amount, and it's most people that are coming to America came here for the same reason why everyone came to America.
Of course.
For a better life.
Right.
They're not going to be like, well, I'm a drug cartel, and I'm just going to go to America and create my own drug empire.
Every capital city in all of the United States.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
Take it down.
And it's I mean, the immigrants that are here are hardworking and trying to just basically have the American dream. I mean, that's why people come here.
Of course. So let's fast forward now. So you went through the legal process. You had several hearings.
Yes.
And the whole time you are just walking on eggshells, thinking that you might have to leave, that this might not work out your way. And so, in some respects, you and because you are a well-loved person who's got a lot of great friends and you're a creative person in the community, rallied around you. I know City Pages did a cover story. That's how I learned about you. And then I learned about the different ways that people were trying to put together a benefit for you and just raise some money. But it took an interesting turn that I would have never expected. So you are still in crisis. You are still unsure of your future, and you become concerned with the situation from a very larger perspective and start working towards that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my situation right now is I need to basically pay off my lawyer, which isn't cheap. Most immigration lawyers charge anywhere from the minimum of $5,000 to $7,000 to $10,000.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, especially when you're, you know,
paycheck to paycheck person
or
whatever. Yeah,
it's a lot of money for anyone.
Yeah.
So, like, to be forced to do that, and you're out of work, and you have a criminal record now because they arrest you. So to get another job is difficult. I mean, so there's that aspect, but I'm just trying to bring more awareness of the actual facts about immigration instead of this divisiveness about immigration. So, I mean, it's the divide is really wide, and people don't know about the actual situation. So back to, like, talking about dogs. I mean,
what?
So this is going to go here. So, like, when I was in there was this guy that was kind of like me. He was from North Dakota, and he was, like, in his work clothes, like dirty work clothes. Like, he had boots on, and he was like, he was sitting next to me, and he was shackled next to me when I was, like, being processed. And he was, like, kind of bummed out. And he's spoke perfect English like me, and he was like, hey, dude, you know, we're trying to talk, and he's like, you know, it's kind of bummed out. And I was like, hey, man, what's your situation? I told him about mine quick. I was like, dude, they woke me up in my sleep. He's like, well, they caught me at work. You know, I'm just trying to work. I'm from North Dakota. I paid, you know, my rent for 3 months, and he's just bought a puppy, like a little puppy.
Oh, no.
And he's, like, talking about, like, how, you know, how long he's going to be in there. It's probably, like, 3 months, you know, detention. And he's like, I can't call anyone, so my dog is going to be possibly dead.
This story is horrible.
Well, that's one of the humanistic, like, stories that people don't talk about of immigration, because you're going to lose a lot. I mean, you have no rights to be like, well, I'm going to, if you don't have a family, because most immigrants come here and their families are scattered because of, trying to work and send money.
Right.
But yeah, so if you like puppies.
Then I encourage you to support immigration reform. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those truths.
How can we as a community be helpful at this point, do you feel? Can you think of some action steps or what? I know that you've had a couple benefits. Are there any more coming up, or is there any? I
actually am selling these illegal T-shirts. If you like metal, or if you don't like metal, they're very sweetly designed after the Metallica's "And Justice for All."
It's amazing.
Except it's a little twist on that. It's a great design done by my friend Kulig, and me and him just put out these shirts to show support and raise money and awareness. And through art, really, is the way that I want people to spread. Because art is not preachy. People don't want to be preached to. Art is something that you can decide for yourself what is, right or wrong or cool.
Right, and it's a language we share.
Yeah.
We don't, it's
a universal language.
Right.
It really is. I mean, it doesn't divide people. It unites people. And that's what is more needed in this world, because hate is so much, in the media, it's all hate. It's look at all the people that are running for office. It's just they have to divide people. They're not uniters anymore.
True.
They're
right.
dividers. Mm-hmm. So that's a part. And I'm having a benefit on the 26th, tentatively on September, at the Bedlam.
Yes.
So we're trying to get a bunch of community activists together from all sorts of the immigration, the Hmong community, the all sorts of people together and celebrate our diversity.
Yes.
And unite through community, through art, through celebrating our culture and what we are as a species of people living in one planet.
That should be happening.
Borders.
That should be happening anyway. I think that it is in some respects, but I like thinking about how cool would it be to be able to have several different ethnic communities in the same room, to be able to share food and art and music and traditions and things, and just be able to enjoy that. I mean, that's great, Tease. That's really, you definitely are a connector. And I think that you've made a lot of really cool things happen from something that was so hard. And the fact that you're the person driving this.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah.
I'm just, if you see me, I just look like a dirtbag, basically. But
No, you look awesome to me. So I wanted to say, too, to our listeners, I don't even know if we established this, but Tease is a DJ. So that's one of the things that he does. So he's,
all vinyl.
Yeah, so he's going to be
Old school.
DJing. I got to give a plug here. I said I don't normally do this, but now it's coming out a lot more lately. I apologize, listeners. But DJ Tease is DJing the last Made Here market on August 30th. We're going out.
Looking forward.
In a total, fiery metal glory with this market. Yeah. The last one. I'm super excited.
Bring your own pyrotechnics.
Yeah. So is there any place that you want to point us online, Tease, or is there any?
There's Facebook, No Justice, No Tease. Tease spelled Teace. It's like peace with a T. So No Justice, No Tease.
Great.
You can follow that, and then hit me up, and you can get a T-shirt.
I have one.
Yeah, they're sweet. They're comfy.
Yeah. And
$25. 100% of that goes towards some sort of immigration reform.
Yep. Cool.
Or relief.
Yeah.
And then I'm also going to be DJing tonight at Eastlake and doing trivia as well. So if you want to have trivia, there'll be prizes, and I'll be DJing some records. Come by, have a kombucha or a beer or both.
Yeah, awesome.
Eastlake, great
yeah.
place.
You guys should know. I'm going to tell you guys one more thing. We did a funny icebreaker here today. Come on. Tell us what we talked about first. What was your metal name?
Oh, yeah. So I came up with this concept. It's either the color of your underwear and the last thing you ate. So mine was a black kombucha. What was yours, Noah?
Black coffee.
Black coffee.
Oh, yeah. Mine was Blue Hershey Kiss.
Blue Hershey Kiss sounds like some sort of 1980s Molly Ringwald band.
Yeah.
Mine sucks. It's floral smoothie.
Floral smoothie. That is a good one.
Wyatt, chime in. Come on. Our engineer, ladies and gentlemen.
Gray muffin.
Gray
right.
muffin. Hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Joan of Art podcast today. This has been a really great hour talking to three really talented people. Woo-hoo. I want to thank my guests, Noah Harmon, DJ Tease, and Bailey Callender for joining me today.
And Joan.
Yay! Hey, and Wyatt. And I want you guys, and I also want to thank the Live and Social Network. So I want you to tune in next week. We're going to have episode 8. I'll have 3 more people, 3 more awesome conversations. Thanks for listening, and have a really artful day. There you go.
Don't have a problem with them, but it's your normal people, it's your normal people, it's your normal people, it's your normal people. I hate normal people more than anybody else. I hate you, normal people, more than anybody else. I hate you, normal people, more than anybody else. Anybody else. Dear sir, dear madam, 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 dear sir, dear madam.
The term